Live by the sword, die by the sword. This saying proves quite true in the lives of these gangsters and notorious mob bosses. In this nerve-wracking video, we will be examining the lives and deaths of 10 infamous gangsters who met death before their intended time. Faced with betrayal, power struggle, and violence, these men kissed the same Grim Reaper they walked hand in hand with their whole lives. Number 10. Bugsy Siegel. Bugsy Siegel, renowned as one of the most feared mobsters of the 1930s and 1940s, was also notorious for his prolific womanizing. Operating a major prostitution ring, he courted actresses and socialites, even negotiating arrangements for female visitors while he was incarcerated. Originally involved in New York organized crime, Siegel relocated to California and eventually Las Vegas as the East Coast became too dangerous for him. In 1945, Siegel embarked on a new venture, the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas, aiming to legitimize himself. At the time, Las Vegas was more desert than Sin City, but Siegel envisioned the Flamingo as a luxurious destination for wealthy elites and tourists. He invested $6 million, which is around $84 million today, into its construction, promising his mob bosses significant returns. However, the opening in December 1946 was marred by unfinished construction, malfunctioning air conditioning, and drop cloths, a disappointing start. Despite a better second opening months later, the initial setbacks lingered. This failure didn't sit well with the mob. The father of modern Las Vegas's death was signed and sealed. While relaxing in his girlfriend's home, Siegel was fatally shot twice through a window, with the impact causing his left eye to rupture. Number 9. Carmine Galante. Despite his modest stature, standing just 5 foot 5 inches, Carmine Galante was renowned for his ruthlessness. He struck fear into even hardened individuals like Ralph Salerno, a former New York Police Department detective who described Galante's chilling, dead-eyed stare of a true killer. Galante's menacing presence was underscored by an official diagnosis of psychopathic personality when he was imprisoned in 1931. A longtime member of the Bonanno family, Galante, nicknamed the Cigar due to his constant smoking, assumed control in 1974 after Philip Rusty Rastelli was incarcerated. Although Galante had served as underboss for years and believed himself the rightful successor, his ascension was not sanctioned by the commission. His aggressive efforts to dominate the narcotics trade, withholding profits from the other 5 families, drew ire from Genovese family boss Frank Thierry. Thierry petitioned the commission to eliminate Galante, arguing his illegitimate claim to leadership. And in July 1979, while dining at Joe and Mary's Italian-American restaurant in Brooklyn, Galante met his demise. He was gunned down in a targeted hit orchestrated by the commission. A lasting image of Galante captures him with a cigar still in his mouth, symbolic of his notorious persona. Number 8. Sam Giancana. As a recognized member of the Midwest Mob's Chicago outfit, Sam Giancana was one of the most infamous mobsters of the 1960s. His criminal exploits were legendary, and he has been mentioned in conspiracy theories related to former President John F. Kennedy's election and his assassination in November 1963, as noted by the Mob Museum. Giancana was suspected of working with the CIA and committing several murders in his youth, but this only caught up with him years later. In 1957, he became the head of the Chicago outfit, but his control over the outfit waned in the 1960s, prompting him to relocate to Mexico. 17 years later, he returned to the United States, partly to testify about the CIA's assassination plots against Fidel Castro. The Grim Reaper struck shortly before he was due to speak before the U.S. Senate in a successful assassination at his Oak Park home in June of 1975. The mob boss was shot 7 times in the head as he made his last meal of sausage and peppers. Although no one was held accountable for the murder, it was whispered that it was the work of Tony Spilotro, a rising gangster in the Chicago outfit. Number 7. Johnny Papalia. Canada might not be the first place that comes to mind when thinking about organized crime, but that overlooks figures like Johnny Papalia. Papalia was a major crime boss in Hamilton, Ontario, and played a significant role in the infamous French Connection drug trafficking crimes of the 1960s. Known for ruling through fear, Papalia was a smart and cunning leader, as ruthless as he was callous. However, even the most careful crime bosses make mistakes eventually. For Papalia, that moment came on May 31, 1997. This notorious figure in Hamilton's underworld was shot in the left side of his head from behind by a hitman from the rival Musitano crime family, marking the end of his reign. Number 6. Mickey Spillane. American crime novelist with the same name comes to mind here, but we're interested in Mickey Spillane, the Irish-American mob boss. Spillane clashed with the Italian Mafia over control of New York's Hell's Kitchen neighborhood. His ambitions extended into Mafia-controlled Manhattan, sparking a violent conflict between the two factions. Despite being known as a gentleman gangster, Spillane couldn't avoid the Mafia's reach. His downfall came through Jimmy Coonan, an ambitious rival from within his own ranks. Coonan teamed up with Brooklyn hitman Roy DeMeo, and on May 13, 1977, Spillane was gunned down outside his home. 5 shots to the head permanently ended his reign in Hell's Kitchen. Number 5. Dominic Napolitano. Also known as Sonny Black, Dominic gained lasting notoriety through the 1997 film Donnie Brasco, which recounted the true story of FBI agent Joseph Pistone's successful infiltration of Sonny Black's Brooklyn crew. This crew dominated the Williamsburg area in the 70s, engaging in typical mafia activities such as burglary, loan sharking, bookmaking, extortion, and narcotics. Pistone spent 6 years accumulating incriminating evidence for the FBI. Eventually, Pistone's true identity was revealed to Sonny Black by FBI agents at his headquarters, the Motion Lounge in Brooklyn. Despite understanding the deadly consequences of allowing the FBI into his crew, Black refused the agent's offer to enter the Witness Protection Program. His punishment came sooner than expected on August 17, 1981, when he was summoned to a meeting. Anticipating the worst, he handed his jewelry to a friend. Upon entering another mobster's home, he was pushed into the basement. When one of his killers misfired on the first attempt, Sonny Black shouted back, "Hit me one more time and make it good." His wish was granted. Black's badly decomposed body was found a year later, with his hands cut off to symbolize the penalty for introducing the FBI into a mafia crew. Number 4. Frank Cali. Frank Cali, an acting boss of the Gambino crime family, was brazenly assassinated outside his Staten Island home on March 13, 2019. His death marked the first time a mafia boss had been killed in such a manner since the mid-1980s. However, his death was ironically as a result of love as opposed to the widespread speculation about whether Cali's death indicated a resurgence of the mob or an internal power struggle within the Gambino family. A 24-year-old Anthony Camello, who wanted to marry the boss's niece, was responsible for the hit. Cali had allegedly opposed their relationship and didn't sit well with Anthony, so he took matters into his own hands and shot the mob boss 6 times. Was this really a hit because of love, or a mob hit disguised as that? Nobody knows for sure. After all, dead men tell no tales. Number 3. Salvatore Testa. Salvatore Testa emerged as a prominent figure in the Philadelphia crime scene in the 80s, earning a reputation as a rising star. However, his ascent provoked jealousy and volatile behavior from Nicky Scarfo. Eventually, Scarfo decided that Testa had to be eliminated, and he entrusted the task to Testa's own crew. Betrayal really does come from the most trusted person. The fateful turning point came at a Philadelphia funeral attended by numerous Scarfo-associated criminals. During the event, a Scarfo lieutenant greeted Testa with a handshake, followed by a Judas Iscariot-style long kiss on the lips, a clear signal of Testa's impending doom. On September 14, 1984, Testa was ambushed in the back room of a candy store, where he was shot in the back of the head. Testa's body was later found dumped on a road in suburban New Jersey. Number 2. Angelo Bruno. The Gentle Don, as he was known, was a mafia boss known for his relatively peaceful approach. Angelo Bruno, the head of the Philadelphia crime family, didn't like his hands bloody. Rather than opt for murder, he would go for bribery as a negotiating tactic. He even exiled Nicodemo Little Nicky Scarfo to Atlantic City for being excessively violent. However, Bruno's peaceful approach did not sit well with his consigliere Antonio Caponegro, who was frustrated by Bruno's reluctance to engage in drug trafficking, thereby cutting Caponegro off from potential profits. In March 1980, Caponegro ordered a hit on Bruno, who was killed by a shotgun blast to the back of the head while sitting in his car. This assassination, however, had not been authorized by the Commission, the Mafia's governing body, which necessitated punishment for Caponegro's blatant disregard for rank and protocol. Caponegro was ultimately betrayed by his co-conspirator Frank Thierry and was shot by Joe Mad Dog Sullivan outside his Philadelphia home. His body was later discovered in the trunk of a car in the South Bronx, bearing 14 bullet and knife wounds. To symbolize his greed, roughly $300 was stuffed into his mouth and anus. Number 1. Albert Anastasia. Infamously known as the Mad Hatter and the Lord High Executioner, Albert Anastasia earned infamy for orchestrating thousands of deaths during his brutal reign in the 1930s and 1940s, solidifying his place as one of the FBI's most notorious criminals. Anastasia rose through the ranks of the mob as one of the leaders of Murder Inc., a notorious group of contract killers operating from a Brooklyn candy store. After allegedly masterminding the assassination of the Gambino family boss, Anastasia ascended to the position of crime family Don in 1951 amid escalating tensions between New York City's 5 families, the major mafia organizations. Anastasia's assassination in October 1957 remains shrouded in mystery, believed to have been ordered by a rival crime family. While relaxing in his barber's chair, awaiting a routine shave and haircut, Anastasia was ambushed by 2 gunmen with scarves over their faces. In a desperate bid for survival, Anastasia lunged at his attackers, clutching at their reflections in the mirror as they continued to shoot him. The shocking murder, set against the backdrop of an unsuspecting Anastasia bleeding out amidst white towels, was a chilling end to a ruthless man. The sword truly has no friends, and this proved true in the lives of these men who died by the same sword they wielded. What death do you find most intriguing? Drop a comment below and subscribe for more dark stories from the underworld.